Hmm. Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks out there. Hello. I am DBJ. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your dreaded DM on this demi-daily deep dive as we continue our talk about, well, as a thumbnail would suggest, maelstrom, storms, weather conditions, um, celestial events, things that uh, are well above and beyond what the players and even your adversaries are used to in your world, and how we can use the uh, apparent chaos of these destructive forces in our tabletop RPG settings. Now, as always, I have to explain up front because some people still, especially if they're just tuning in, may not understand what a third pillar Thursday theme is. Well, third pillar is the one of three pillars of tabletop RPG gaming. The first two pillars being combat and social interaction, and then being supported by the third pillar, which is exploration. Now, I take exploration even further and think of it as the landscape, the environment, the props, the exotic locations that are in your world, and not just ones to be poked and prodded, but to be used in the game, even during combat. Um, like a movie scene, there's sure two people can fight each other with swords and spears or laser guns or what have you, but how much more exciting is it to do it on the wing of a plane or on the docks while there's a torrential storm coming in, or during an earthquake, or hanging off of a balcony of a 30-story building, or being trapped underground while there's a cave-in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to continue our talk about maelstroms in general, and about the third pillarness of it, which is basically using it like a for me, third pillar, as your self-appointed third pillarist, it's kind of a combination of the above, which I will tell you right now. Things like traps, layers, obstacles, hazards, and all around use and abuse of the environment, for, against, and with your players and adversaries. All right. So, hey, what's going on there, Rickard? Vince, what's going on? Hey, Rickard seems to be having a little bit of a project concerning map making. And one idea previously in this week, we were talking about having a setting that has multiple overlaid maps because of the severe seasonal changes in a tabletop RPG setting. I think that would be kind of cool too. But one thing I've often mentioned about, and it kind of deserves to be mentioned here, especially when we're talking about maelstroms like storm surges, torrential rain, electrical storms, earthquakes, and all around like things that the players just will not be able to, or have a very limited amount of ability to circumnavigate just on their own abilities. Vince says I'm writing on my visitors the infection game. I hope you're not doing real life doing a real life rendition of that. I hope it's only in the cloud or pen and paper, man. Well, thank you, Fat Ninja. I will do that, and we'll come up with something. I PM'd you through the Discord. I literally will be on the Discord for an hour after this ends. I have another meeting, an appointment with the ortho. So, yeah, not going to work today. Unfortunately, probably getting ready for double cortisone shots in my ankles or whatever. So, now. Rickard says, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to try to get that done today. If I have time to stream it, do you mind if I link it to the Discord? Absolutely not. That's what it's there for, dude. I think you've posted quite a number of very professionally done maps, as a matter of fact, or any other things. Yeah, I will. I'm old, man. I'm old. All right, getting back now. I often bring up a number of subjects when it comes to using the environment, all right, in your games. For example, in fifth edition, they have a thing known as lairs, and the creatures. Yeah, no problem. Um, and layers and layer actions. And my feeling was like, why restrict that to one specific big bad evil guy or whatever? The environment is always someone's lair, and it's not necessarily in control of that person or individual or creatures or what have you. It just acts independently. And now for good or bad, for example, in a big vast ocean and sharks swimming in it, the ocean acts independently, despite the fact that, yeah, the sharks enjoy being there and the human beings being pulled down into the aquatic depths may not. Whereas maybe there are bandits going through a mountain ridge, and when the snow and the high altitude and the snow starts to come in, and there's a threat of frostbite and being packed in, and oh, wait a minute, if we make sounds, there might be an avalanche that may affect everyone equally. So Vince says, how about a monster that has different layer actions based on season or weather? First of all, absolutely, I would erase the question mark on that and say, hell yeah. Why not have that have something or a group of somethings or whatnot have any number of actions in a particular place based on the weather or the season? Earlier this week, we talked about, lizard creatures or trolls or something, or even elementals or golems or something, energized by bolts of lightning from the sky that just happen to rise and whatnot. And maybe you reskin some trolls that are literally heal from the bolts of lightning that come out of the sky, and that's how they, that's their trollish healing. Maybe instead of fire and acid, they're harmed by, I don't know, come up with something that is the antithesis of electricity. Well, maybe heat is still the same thing. Whatever, water, if they're in a dry climate or something. But whatever the case may be, I am still a proponent of a very dynamic outer, whether it's weather systems, whether it's the environment and such. And I think we can really take it and again turn the volume up on it so that having players putting tough choices in the players' hands is, I think, a great GM tool, because you can always lean back and let the players kind of fiddle their fingers and start being nosing their navels as they look down at a character sheets trying to figure out what the hell to do, while you just smile devilishly and let them create or circumvent their own hazards, as it would be. Vince says spring action, grapple the party with vines. Summer action, heat up the party with the sun's power. The fall action, cutting leaves storm, and a winter action, a snow wall. Hell yeah, I'd go even further. I'd make like maybe 3 or 4 actions based on the seasons, especially if you have something like such a dramatic change every moment or hour or something, which be each round. If the weather changed, I would love that. Like snowfall this round. Oh, next week it's pure summer. All right, next round is like summer. The round after that, it's like fall or autumn or whatever. Yeah, I love that. Ricker goes on to say swamp creature. In the winter would be toxic mists. For spring would be spores. For summer, summoning insects, and for fall would be a flood. Ooh, see, I mean, you come up with so many ideas, and having the players understand that they're in a world where it is that exotic. So, for example, Vince says the monster might even look different based on season. Here's something we can go even more exotic with it. Maybe the monster is a different monster based on the season. So for each, follow me on this. So instead of, let's say, a fey creature living in a place that is amongst 4 seasons, you might even have a chaos creature of sorts. Now, this might be more applicable for, like, I don't know, the abyss or something, or a realm of chaos or pandemonium or whatever. But each round, maybe that creature changes from, let's go, dragon to lich to, I don't know, Rakshasa to uh, earth elemental to, like, you could really take something like that. And now, mind you, if you really want to, if you don't want to go so chaotic where the creature goes from a ooze to a tree to a giant to a dragon, you might want to you could even mix and match it so that spring might be young for the creature. So let's say we go undead or something. So maybe winter is the end of their life, so they're a ghost or a banshee. I'm going backwards. So autumn might be a wraith or a wight or something. Summer might be vampire. Maybe spring would be vampiric, and then fall would be, let's say, zombie. And then, like you could actually, like, pick different ones. Oh, Rickard says, so a fire hydra, water hydra, frost hydra, earth hydra, or do you mean like in one single fight? Well, all of the above, man. I'm just picking and choosing. Like, wait a minute, what if you could do something like that? Yeah. On which in a strange kind of way, the players could maybe take advantage of understanding, like, which season is about to happen next, especially if the seasons roll spring, summer, fall, winter. They might be able to take advantage of which season comes about on that creature in the location they're in, to take advantage of, like, oh, winter is coming up, it's going to be vulnerable to heat. Let's save what we're going to do to attack it when the winter season flows into this region and blasts us all to hell. Vince says, aura of spring creates blooming flowers and sprawling insects in a 100-foot radius, a monster carrying a season with it. Of course. Why not? I mean, and maybe there are, again, maybe there are these little protectorates where the seasonal changes aren't as dramatic, but when you go out into the wilds, and sure, maybe the seasons change abruptly, month by month, or maybe week by week, and as you go further and further away, it could even be a daily deluge. And then there are these creatures out there where literally it changes round to round, just literally them carrying it around on their backs or something. Maybe there was a 1,000 generations ago or something, there was a portal or a rift opened up into pure chaos, and this is what's happening. Or maybe this seasonal change happens after the red comet goes across the sky, and this happens for 1 month where the seasons just go back to back to back to back, and that's it. Vince says, oh, you could also combine those auras or season zones with monsters changing based on season. That would be an awesome fight. The monster switches through different zones, changing each time. That's exactly what I was saying. Like a giant spider to a giant eagle to a dire wolf to a I don't know, a giant ooze or something. Like you could literally have it change each round, and each round is a different season or something. This actually really works very well for like an elemental creature as well, and just make it could be a pure elemental chaos creature that in the summer it's fire, in the fall it's earth, in winter it's ice, spring, you might want to forego like air or something. Maybe it's spring, it's a plant-like creature, possibly. Ricker says, so when you get the monster down to 75%, you trigger like what? The summer hydra is evolving? Congratulations, your summer hydra evolved into an autumn hydra. Yeah, each head chopped off lets another season head dominate. Ooh, see, there's another. And I've very rarely brought this up, but there's the idea of puzzle monsters, which is another thing. Layers, traps, obstacles, puzzles. Forgot about the puzzles. Puzzle monsters are a great idea too. And when it comes to us using the weather and chaos and the seasons and things, there may be other. Yeah, Ricker says more puzzle monsters. Hell yeah, I love puzzle monsters. Uh, of course, we know in video games there's a ton. I was going to say something else. There's a ton of puzzle monsters in video games, and while video game play can be chastised quite a bit from us tabletop RPG gamers, we can learn quite a lot from that. We can learn quite a lot from the development of puzzle monsters. So yeah, Vince says, cut off the summerhead, the lake will melt and the goblins will drown. Ooh, ooh. Ramifications, complications, and consequences. I like that. So using this idea of like the weather and maelstroms and this bigger part of the environment while including puzzle monsters, I think is really great. Now a puzzle monster, what the problem, not the problem, the problem for your players with a puzzle monster is, instead of just standing in front of it and going, I hit it with my sword, okay, I dodge, maybe I hit it, I cast a spell, I dodge. What happens is, for the most part, a creature of that type is so powerful, and so the players do not have the ability to handle it on their own, that they have to figure out another way to destroy it. Much like the classic Lich not being able to be destroyed unless you find the phylactery, or the vampire lord not being able to be killed directly, but you need to lure it into the sun, or trap it in a holy place or something. Puzzle monsters are creatures, especially where they have some sort of ability or strength or agenda that they are engaged in, or power source, that more than just hitting it with your sword, something else has to happen with it. Now, another part of having a puzzle monster that's relatively easy to kill, and then let's face it, in a lot of role-playing games, you get 4 or 5 players against one, they're pretty much going to dominate it, is the idea that Vince brings up, that, hey, if you harm it, something else will happen. So maybe this creature is linked into the environment itself. And much like many of the adventurers that happened before them, maybe they've been killing these creatures off, or attacking them, or removing them out of the region. And this is why the world's being buffeted by these massive storms, because, hey, slice the Hydra's heads off and it starts to flood the region, and the PCs might be thinking, oh, that's why there's floodwaters and major swamps and storms. I didn't realize that. And so now they may have to figure out another way around it. Vince says, I would love having some kind of powerful artifact that could change weather or the seasons, and that being a big part of how to defeat the key enemies or overcoming major obstacles. You could have, I don't know, no other term but to call them weather kings. Maybe there's thrones or powerful artifacts, or maybe during this day and age, there are these kings that do control the weather, that basically use ecological harm to defeat their enemies by pushing storms and things over other lands. And then maybe the PCs uncover the fact that they have these shards of this broken, powerful artifact that at one point made the world a paradise, that was written down in ancient texts, but no one lives in a world where they realize there was a paradise. And then come to find out that this artifact was broken into, maybe it was a rod of 7 parts or whatever. But you get my meaning, right? It could be one or a number of artifacts that these powerful kings and queens or councils or dictators or something are using to manipulate not just the weather, but to use it as, hey, I don't need a standing army. Not if I can sock in my neighboring city state under months and months of frigid cold and snow, in which case, I can just take their resources from them. If they, give their loyalty to me, I can make the snows go away. That would be interesting. And as a matter of fact, having powerful beings like a lich or something like that, who commands almost, I'm sure you could go evil druid or druidic cult kind of thing. So yeah, Vince says in the Zelda game Oracle of Seasons, you had a harp that could change the seasons on specific places to change the map layout. For example, freezing a lake or opening a cave. See, there's another thing. There's a great way to expand your world, especially if the PCs are able to find maybe fragments of this artifact or call upon certain powers. Maybe they're, like you said, maybe they're not able to get across a lake until they meet certain requirements that changes the seasons and then freezes it. And maybe each of the players has to uncover certain seasons to, like a puzzle, but your world is a puzzle. And by changing the seasons, that allows them greater or limited access to certain areas. So they freeze a lake, they go across the lake, enemies might be coming after them. They turn it to summer so that the lake then dethaws so their enemies can't get after them. I like that. I love that idea, as a matter of fact. And this is more or less taking the idea of being in a dungeon and a puzzle with maybe some keys or locks to literally making the world a giant puzzle. So I love that. Ricker says you can even have it like you say, make the enemy like the empty riverbed with flood again. So the PCs are not part of the main battle, but on a mission to make the river flood at a specific time. It would also make the PCs not able to kill monsters as soon as they can. They must time it. Ooh, I like that. I like that idea. Maybe they have to lead. Going back to the Hydra, maybe it's the idea of slaying the Hydra at the mouth of the river in order to bring back the waters to the river again. And maybe the world's filled with monsters that are the embodiment of returning the seasons back to their normal, returning the earth back to its normal mode, right? Like the earth elementals are literally mountains that have walked away, and the earth elementals must be laid to rest. The aquatic hydra or something must be slain and return the rivers back to their normal selves. That kind of thing. I love that. I love that idea, especially having to time it. It's like, yeah, we could kill it now, but we really needed to get it a few miles from here. So let's make a run for it, but kind of like poke and prod it so that it keeps coming after us and doesn't get distracted, so we could kill it at the very, a specific moment or something. Oh, hell yeah. I love that. I love that. Vince says, yeah, they first have to free it and lure it to a certain area where they can switch to another weather season to defeat it. Yeah. Oh man. Hey, let's freeze the aquatic hydra, move it before it starts to dethaw, release it from its frozen prison, and then kill it so that it turns back to the river. Oh man. And then maybe the PCs are the one returning the world back to its normal seasonal changes. So it could even be that the enemies have to be defeated in a particular order. So for example, you can't bring back all the spring creatures without also bringing back the summer and autumn and winter creatures as well in a particular pattern or order, or some. Oh man. Now what we don't want to do is get into the idea of having too much specificity. Like you can only kill the spring creature first, and then you can only kill the summer creature second, right? You could even do this low level, as a low level party where the PCs are arranging for these powerful creatures or entities to fight each other to return normalcy in a chaotic world. So for example, I'm doing a Jack and a Beanstalk thing here. PCs climb up or arrive in the storm giant, cloud giant castle or something, which controls the storms, and they've been having this battle. And then maybe the PCs then offer some kind of information to the storm kings to cause them to attack the winter princess and the summer, I don't know, the summer Rex or Khan or Caesar or something like that, right? So it may not be them defeating the creature physically, like them fighting, but convincing them to attack each other or take each other out. I mean, yeah. Vin says, Yeah, I mean, a puzzle needs to be specific most of the time. Yeah, what my issue with puzzles, and I think the reason why it's very difficult to include puzzles in games is that sometimes puzzles will slam a door shut, and you don't want the gate or the door shut so that the progress doesn't continue forward. So let's do a classic dungeon delve. PCs go in front of a locked door. Locked door has 3 keys. There's 3 locks, and none of the keys fit in the lock specifically. So the PCs must figure out how to put the locks into the keys into the lock or whatever, right? So it sounds simple on the surface. You got 3 locks, you got 3 keys, guys figure it out. But the issue is either the PCs get the exact answer right and they continue with the adventure, or they get it wrong and they're standing there and everyone's twiddling their thumbs as they're trying each and every permutation. And without pressure, you either have your PCs who are just going to get frustrated and walk away, in which case everything behind the locked door puzzle goes uninvestigated, or you have a situation where you're just, it's a time sink when all you really wanted them to do is get through the door in the first place. So the problem with puzzles is that they can stop action. They can do a full stop on the forward action. What you really want is a puzzle. Let the action keep going, let them travel, and then let them figure out these puzzles as they go along. So it's not stopping the action, and also allowing there to be space for PCs to come up with unique ways to solve a puzzle and allow the solution to come about even if you didn't think about it. Otherwise, it's going to be a bunch of it's 20 questions, and after they finish, they bypass 20 questions and they get to 157. You're going to get some players that are just like, I hate puzzles. I'm not even getting it. Whatever. Listen, my character, he's going north. I'm not. This whole desert puzzle thing, I'm out of here, right? There are some people who just absolutely hate puzzles to begin with, and again, we don't want to hard stop the action. So that's where puzzles are excellent until they meet the real world, and then everything just gets foobarred. Rickard says, not really third pillar, but you go Eastern myth and have small spirits or deities that control the various regions, the spirit of the pond, etc. So if the world is unbalanced, they will act weird. I absolutely agree with you, especially if there was some sort of pact or legacy or law of the spirits that somehow got wiped out. Maybe there was a book or a tome where all the spirits signed it to agree that the seasons would be a certain way, and maybe some evil person stole the book and confiscated it, and so now all the spirits are like, oh, book's going, I guess I don't have to agree to this thing. I mean, you know how fey creatures are, right? They have their own way of doing things, so maybe there's something was removed or broken. The adventure with the Storm King, there's something known as the Ordning, where all the classic giants in D&D are part of a specific order that was thrown out of whack, and that's why the giants were all flustered, and the PCs have to reestablish the Ordning to get them back into their specific orders. Fire giants in the fire area, and the frost giants in the frosty area, and that kind of thing. Ricker says, yeah, Vince was saying that a puzzle needs to be specific most of the time, or it becomes too easy. Yeah, exactly. Ricker says, flood the area in anger, have the area dry up as they are too busy to make sure the water flows, having the water become acidic or toxic, etc., as their unbalance seeps into the water. I like that a lot. Again, maybe solving a situation through social means that affects the actual physical region. I absolutely like that. I like the idea of a charisma save to avoid being splashed by acid or something, or being washed away in a tidal wave or whatever. Literally talking to the spirits and stuff. I love that. Vince says, yeah, we had this when we did world building with druids. We made a jungle dominated by spirits that changed or protected the area. Yeah, that was a great series too. Although it felt like it took forever, but it still was good. There were a couple of people in the Absolute Tabletop group that really enjoyed that. That enjoyed that world building concept. But yeah, having the environment something that you could actually communicate with, whether it's spirits or elemental beings or the druidic cults or monsters or something like that change and affect the world. And as a matter of fact, none of this needs to necessarily be evil. For example, maybe there's one creature that's sad, and their sadness, their sorrow brings about floodwaters from their crying, and the PCs may need to reconnect them with each other. For example, maybe there's the river spirit is crying and causing these floods, but they want to return to them the spirit of the living plants or whatever, which has been taken away. So now the all of the forests or jungles or something is just dead, and they have to return the spirit of life back to this thing. But maybe the spirit of plants and flowers has been lied to, and that she wants to return back to her true love, but I don't know, the spirit of the sun has taken her away and wants her for herself, and she's wilting away from the blazing sun or something like that. Like, you could make this world and the environment that's around the players very mythic and almost like a story brought to life, and the PCs may have to navigate that. For example, like you mentioned about the water dries up and then the water flows and things. And here's a great way for us to have encounters that are not necessarily combat encounters, but for example, the idea of floodwaters and rain and torrential storms. And A, you've already foreshadowed this idea. B, you've already set this as a baseline for your setting. Hey, if you leave the protectorate, you understand you're going to be attacked by these storms. You could make random lists where during certain periods of time the PCs have to worry about being. Let's go with the thunderstorms, right? Maybe there's high winds, bolts of electricity, torrential rain, the aftermath of some of these effects as well. Where's the rainwater go? Well, it floods certain areas. What happens when there's torrential rains in and around rocky areas? Are there mudslides? Does it make it unstable rock to climb on? Is it possible that there are places for people to fall into and get trapped in crevices, or fall into a crevice and then the floodwaters come in and it starts to fill up a pit and someone's ankle is trapped at the bottom, right? Like, there's so many things that encounters before the PCs even come upon, the big bad evil guy that they plan on getting their experience points from, using a ton of skill checks and skill rolls, and having the PCs become smarter about how to handle particular situations. I think really, really, really is underserved in tabletop RPGs. And so solving situations with something other than just a sword or an axe or blasted by a spell, I think really helps people immerse themselves in the world. Vince says we should write the worlds we did in world building with classes, at least the best ones, the druids and the barbarians. Maybe I think most of them were excellent. As a matter of fact, part of me almost wishes that chronological order, because I could imagine some of them happening after the fall of one world, another one starts to rise again. For example, the one about the druids would come after a world destroyed by the world with the fighters, I could imagine. The world built by fighters being destroyed, and then humanity travels across the great oceans and finds this new land, and that's where the druidic world is and stuff, and then the barbarian world after that or something. Like, yeah, I could imagine it being in a chronological order. So getting back on track again, the idea of not only the world being different continents, yeah, it could be different continents, islands. I love it. But the other thing that seems to be an unused muscle is the idea that the environment itself is is an adversary unto itself, regardless of the people in it. So going back to the torrential rain and thunderstorms and the flooding and the electrical arcs coming out of the sky, or let's go with a different type of weather system like sandstorms, electrical currents, heat lightning, the blasting radiance from the sun, dehydrating, and things like that. Like when it comes to those kind of things, we can. Vince says acid rains. Yep, acid rains. You may have, especially if you're talking volcanic, so you could have acid rains and fog and maybe geysers, meteor storms. Yep, yeah, ash clouds. Absolutely. Hell, forest fires do that with ash clouds and smoke. You know, I mean, ash clouds bring a number of things. You can't breathe it, you can't see through it, and it's coming from somewhere. It probably burns if it hits you, and that may be endemic of something else on the horizon. Vince brings up steam clouds would be nasty too if they're still hot, which is kind of a weird thing. Like steam clouds don't ignite flammable objects, but they still burn. And I'm pretty sure plate mail armor is pretty useless against steam, right? So again, these things might be just random. They could be completely random, i.e., a meteor swarm followed by a snowstorm followed by I don't know, heat and whatnot, or they could be a season in chaos. So, for example, after a major snowstorm, when the snows start to thaw, fog happens. You know, as the oh, I was about to say dehydrates. Anyway, when snow begins to evaporate, there's a lot of times where we have fog. As a matter of fact, when you have a major storm during the summertime, directly after that, and it's very hot and humid, that's all that moisture that hit the ground starts to rise back up in the air and it becomes fog. So one thing can lead to another, like the song, one thing leads to another. And we sometimes we don't, we as tabletop role players don't even include aftermath effects. We have acid rains, meteor storms, ash clouds, steam. What happens afterwards? For example, if there's a torrential rain for 3 days, the water goes somewhere. And here in Central Ohio, like there's a number of communities that are on floodplains, and it floods out roads, and people's homes are washed away. And when it rains north, the people south of the rivers are like, they're warned, hey, there's flood, there's a chance of flood. And excuse me, the people who operate the people who are part of the civil community down there, police, fire, safety, power, they know, they start putting up barriers like, we better block these roads because, hey, there's no water on the road now, but tomorrow when after the rains hit and it comes downhill, we're in trouble. So that's another thing as well. And especially, in torrential rains, maybe there's the rangers trying to track someone, torrential rains wipe away the tracks. PCs think they're prepared for a desert environment and the monsoon season starts. And now they have to worry about floodwaters and rain and them being washed away in high winds or something. So yeah. Vince says you could also get really freaky, raining needles or small creatures like spiders or insects. Now you're getting very mythic, very fable-ish, which I like that. I like the idea that the world doesn't operate according to our science. But when they say it rains cats and dogs, where it rains frogs, or there's clouds of locusts and things, that that's a little bit biblical too, right? But it's a real thing. We're not When I say real, I mean it's real in the sense of being part of our mythology and fables. So why not have something like that? Now again, you better bring this up with your players, because if giant spiders are like raining from the sky, and there's not just dozens but hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of them, I think your PCs might be like, this game is stupid. We can't fight 100,000 spiders. This is stupid. Like, you're really going to have to explain this up front. Like, yeah, this world, yeah, especially if could you imagine the natural order flipped on its head? So, like, it rains creatures. It, instead of wind, like you said, there's needles that flow through the air. Instead of the sun rising and setting like it should, maybe the sun shines from beneath the earth or something like that. Yeah, that would be really strange. It rains sideways. Rivers flow and waterfalls go upwards in reverse. So that would be so weird. Rickard says it's real, and that high winds can make spiders in the like rain from the sky. I could see that as well. Why not? High winds could literally snatch something that normally could be miles or even many miles or kilometers away, snatch it into the air and deposit them over a city. And the people could assume that it's raining spiders, but really it's just because of the high winds carrying them on the air. Maybe they were just trying to attach the pollen or something. And with the world out of whack, maybe it is scientific, but it just happens to be a strange confluence of a strange confluence of things that are happening that people are assuming it's arcane, but it isn't, which is also a possibility. Vin says in Numenera, there is the iron wind that changes all it touches on a molecular level, leaving a weird deserted zone that is partially melted or transformed. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Going back to the acid rain thing, who's to say that rain doesn't pour down and turn people to stone, or turn people into oozes, temporarily even, or the rains come down and polymorphs the people that it touches. Some of them run out into the rains to be polymorphed. Others are like, I'm getting the hell out of here. I do not want to become a gelatinous cube. Vin says, yeah, they fly by using electrostatic. It's super cool, but also scary. I love that. A weird sci-fi world that instead of Medusa turning people to stone, they turn them to iron. Why not? Instead of iron golems powered by the electrical storms from heat lightning and stuff. Like, you could go really far with that. Here's Undo again. Me and my stupidity. Fat Ninja says the song that you were referring to, the group was named The Fix. Sorry for the scroll moment in 80s music. Yeah, one thing leads to another. I don't want to get punished by YouTube's whatever thing. Yeah. I can't steal the song, but yeah, I'm an 80s kid. You could tell that. You could tell by the grays that I'm an 80s kid. Dead Man the Storyteller says raining fish or frogs, etc., really happens if they get sucked up by a tornado and fall down elsewhere. And that's what I mean. Like, it could be, you could actually rationalize some of these things where, or even here's a weird thing. You could have very arcane things happening, but there's a tinge of scientific truth behind it. There are, not to get biblical, but there are, all right, Vinci, sorry about that. There are people who have scientifically explained the actions of many of the events that happened in the Bible, and whether you believe it or not is irregardless. That we're talking about tabletop RPGs. You could do the same thing, rivers filled with blood and raining frogs and locusts and all those kind of things. I mean, could they have a scientific basis in your world? Sure. Could they be an arcane basis? Maybe it's the same thing. Um, Rickers has got to bow out. Should be able to tune in tomorrow. Been a weird week. Sorry, man. I hope everything's all right with you as well. Vince says some characters gain their powers from the iron wind. Like, hey, my arm touched the wind and now it's made out of glass and can store and project electricity. That's weird. Numenera is like that. I don't know. Steal from it. I like that a lot. Undo, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Hello, fellow stranger. You better cut your long hair and change those baggy clothes. It's spider season. I like that. And what a great way. I yeah, I like that. That you're fine, Undo. But I like the idea of having the little things like the way you dress and act. When spider season comes around, like people are just like their fashion sense has changed, and the PCs are like, why are they changing their clothes and putting out buckets of spoiled milk in front of their doors and I don't know, getting on the rooftops and blowing whistles or something. Like you could have these strange actions, but the strange actions have a meaning in the world that goes beyond what the PCs can see until it happens. Vince says the sky becomes black for 3 days. Ooh, that's nasty. Vince, Numenera is great for inspiration. The game Torment Tides of Numenera is currently super cheap on Steam. Really? Sale for €15. I didn't realize Numenera has the. I know they were talking. The last time I heard, they were talking about making a deal to turn Numenera into a video game. I didn't realize it actually existed. Wow. Torment ties it to. Okay, sweet. All right, so we're getting back. We're getting into the hour, the hour mark, and thanks, Vince. Yeah, this game is already out for a year. Yeah, I know I'm behind the times, man. Like I said, I'm old. I got to catch up. I'm the guy with the walker trying to catch you young folks. Young folks. Yeah. Man, I need to update my nerd card. My maybe it's expired. I haven't paid my dues in a while. So one thing to do that is emblematic of getting back to our squirreliness, getting back to the using the third pillar, is to have the world and the surrounding environment and stuff change and flow and cause problems for both the PCs and or the adversaries, maybe in a random manner or predicted manner or something like that. Vince is like, yeah, more than 2 years out. I get it. Wow. Just kicking dirt on the shoes, aren't you there, buddy? Vince says mechanically it's not that good though. Oh well, see, maybe I was right to not have known that it existed. Now my feelings aren't hurt. Oh man. But again, maybe things happen. You could have a random table. You could do the ICRPG thing and just roll a D4 and let things happen at a particular round. They could happen on a particular initiative order. They could happen. I love the idea of using an if-then sequence. If the PCs do a certain thing, then something happens. Going back to the iron winds and electrical storms or something. If a PC decides to touch one of the metal monoliths that's in this blasted region, then they're going to get shocked by electricity. But then they realize, well, could I kick one of my enemies in the chest and slam them up against one of these electrically charged monoliths? And as the DM or the GM, I'd go, I didn't think about that. That's actually kind of sweet. Yes, you can do that. And then maybe that becomes a tactic. Okay, I'm going to grab the enemy by the tail and try to swing them into the monoliths to get them zapped by electricity so they can be stunned, so that another PC could sneak up behind them and cut them in the back or whatever, right? Vin's is talking about they have a random vendor that sells nightmares. That sounds like an Invisible Sun as well, although same creator, right? Very very dream-like, very very bizarre. So that's something else that we didn't bring up when that Vince kind of brought up, is that we don't have to have a natural environment that runs naturally. Like we talked about spiders raining from the sky and that kind of thing. Who's to say we can't go even more esoteric, where there are storms of nightmares, there are rains of sorrow, there are dry, blasted lands of anger. I mean, you could have a storm that negates gravity. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not play with? Why not go so esoteric that the world is in such chaos that the PCs really need to change the way they think. Fat Ninja DM says the numeric rule set is on Fantasy Grounds. Hashtag shameless plug. I love that, and that's something that I'm probably going. I've realized I've been trying to think about how to do this, and like I said, guys, I'm probably going to drop a Tuesday, drop Tuesdays, and make it like a Discord Tuesday, and do it that way. So yeah, it is called Cipher System. Yeah. I wrote a game for it. No, you didn't, did you? Astrocitas. Astrocitas? You know me, I I can't pronounce shit, but I love it nonetheless. Yeah. Wait a minute. Aren't there videos on this channel about that game? I like all your pronunciations. Well, depends on where you're at in the vast intergalactic space of Astrocitas. It depends on where you're at. That's how they pronounce it. But yeah, I like that idea. So again, guys, this has been 10% Third Pillar Thursday, 90% squirreling, but all in all, it's basically just us coming up with ideas, going really wild with it. Again, you know, going very esoteric about like a storm that negates gravity, rain that brings about sorrow, storms that bring about nightmares or something. I mean, that would be yeah. I'm gonna have to get a plushie squirrel. I think this channel needs it. So guys, everyone, I'm gonna cut it here because we're going down a spiraling out of control here. But I want to thank everyone for joining in or catching up later and whatnot. The information down in the doobly-doo below the video is probably going to change. Currently, we have merchandise available for sale at Critical Hit Publishing. I'm sure there's going to be information about Fantasy Grounds College. Yeah, Deadman says, or a Clippy squirrel. Let me see if I can. I know there's the emoji. There's got to be some more to it. So, guys, thank you so much. I will be on the Discord after this broadcast and talking with Fat Ninja, because I kind of need to talk to him as well. So Fat Ninja, don't go away. Get another cup of coffee, please. Maybe some hazelnut on me. Guys, everyone have a great one. I will see thee later. See you tomorrow for Future Friday. Future Friday, of course, we're going to talk about planetary weather systems. We got to do that. I mean, if you want to go wild, you got to do that. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you.